VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision-impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi, my name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Ever wondered about your eyes or how to recognize the different eye conditions? Welcome to InSight to the Eye, the show that explores the fascinating world of vision and reveals the secrets of eye health. Broadcasting from Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, hosted by Benjamin Keeley and co-hosted by Dr. Scott Anagnoste, a renowned retinal specialist of the Retina Group of Florida, with extensive expertise in ocular trauma and emergency eye care. Let's welcome Ben Keeley and Dr. Anagnoste as they take us on an enlightening journey through the extraordinary world of eye health and vision.
Well, thank you again, Alex. You always give us a great opening. This has been here with Dr. Anagnoste. We're back for another episode of InSight to the Eye, where we talk about different eye diseases and different ways to deal with it. We call it the who. What is it? How do you deal with it? And what are my options? So, Doc, how are you doing today? Welcome back.
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
So talk to us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, sir.
So today we're going to be, I think, talking about retinal vein occlusions are one of the more common things we see in the office. That's when one of the small veins within the retina in the back of the eye gets blocked.
So that's what it is. And a little bit, a little bit more about what it is and then, how do you get it and stuff like that. So jump into what it is and then a little bit into the how.
So in the eye, which is a little bit different than in the rest of the body, the arteries and the veins pass through a sheath, a common sheath, kind of like a conduit around a wire. And that sheath is not elastic. It doesn't stretch. So that with age, and particularly with high blood pressure, as people get hardening of the arteries, the artery gets thicker. When we say hardening of the arteries, that basically means that due to high blood pressure, usually the wall of the artery gets thicker and thicker, and so the inside where the blood flows gets narrower. But also the overall thickness of the artery gets bigger, and that starts to squeeze down on the vein. And if the vein gets squeezed enough, the flow of blood through that vein stops being laminar and starts to be turbulent, which can lead to it getting blocked by a blood clot. If a vein is blocked, the veins drain the blood out from the retina. Blood can continue to flow in through the arteries, but then it gets stuck. Can't flow out. And if it can't flow out, it can't flow in. And so that leads to a part of the retina that does not get enough blood supply, and that results in bleeding and swelling of the retina, and in some cases even the development of abnormal new blood vessels, which can break and bleed and lead to further problems.
Like the little spider when they spider off. Yeah.
Yep.
And then if you don't have the blood flowing out, does that have a tendency for that blood to thicken and get yourself a clot?
Oh, it is, yes. A clot forms in the vein, blocking the vein completely, and then there's no blood flow through that area.
And that's when you start losing parts of the retina that focus in that area.
Correct, exactly.
Right.
In most people, eventually, there is a good chance that the neighboring veins will gradually get wider to accommodate the flow that cannot go through the blocked vein. But that's a very slow process. And while that's happening, the retina can be swollen and not functional and lead to poor vision.
So let's jump over to the how. How does that occur? Is that uncontrollable sugar, or is that just another thing of old age, or how do we get that?
The overwhelmingly most prominent risk factor is high blood pressure, because that fundamentally is what causes the arteries to harden and get thicker and leads to the vein occlusion. It is more common in people with diabetes, but the main risk factor is actually high blood pressure.
So those two diseases, high blood pressure and diabetes, I would call them silent killers. You don't know what's going on until it happens. Is that true?
Absolutely. And that's one of the terrible things about it, is both of them, is that you feel pretty okay until very, very late in the disease. So you can be absolutely feeling fine for years while this is silently causing all sorts of damage to all sorts of parts of the body.
I remember in my case, and you've been treating me for a long time, but it was like I'm Superman going on uncontrollable sugars, eating McDonald's left and right, and diet soda. I figured if I drank diet soda and then ate McDonald's, it'd be a good mix.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, boom, it was like, I'm seeing you in an emergency. It's like went totally lights out kind of thing,
Yeah, it gives, one of the most devastating things about it is that it gives the illusion of everything being perfectly okay until all of a sudden it's not at all.
And that
And
should go.
it is silent.
That's why we should be seeing our doctors every year, if not more. And if you're drinking 2 or 3 liter sodas every day, and you're still thirsty, that's a sign. You better go look at that one. Check your blood pressure, check your sugar. And,
Yep.
I don't know whoever made that movie about, you know, McDonald's and stuff, but, it's
Yeah.
not a good
Yep.
meal for every day. So,
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, similar to the diabetes, you're not, most of the time, you're not going to have any symptoms from high blood pressure. So it really boils down to just having the blood pressure checked either at home or in a lot of pharmacies or with your doctor. And, there's an additional factor, which is the medications to treat both don't really make you feel any better. So there's a very big issue of compliance. That is, people are told they have high blood pressure given medicine. Yes, the medicine lowers their blood pressure, but that doesn't make you feel any better. And so it becomes very easy to forget or stop or not want to continue on the medicine. And in the meantime, the high blood pressure continues to wreak havoc on the blood vessels all over the body.
yep, it's definitely gets up on you, and that's coming from experience. And what the sad part about it is, like you mentioned, most pharmacies, the big ones, including the grocery stores, have these little machines right by the pharmacy that you can check your blood pressure, or you can go on
Absolutely.
Amazon for $20, buy your own blood pressure machine for the house.
Absolutely.
Not a big investment. And it
Yeah.
all depends on how much your life is worth to you.
Yeah, no, it's an absolutely critical thing, and checking it at home is really a great way to go because it can fluctuate at different times during the day, and this way you can measure it at different times.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like. I got one of these continuous monitoring glucose machines.
Right.
And I love it because if I'm being a bad boy, it beeps at me. If I'm
Yep.
being too conservative, it beeps at me. And it just keeps you as a no-brainer. But one of the things I never really understood is, you can get a blood pressure testing machine with no problem, but you need a prescription to get a glucose monitor, So,
Yeah, and that has finally changed. The first over-the-counter glucose monitor has finally been
approved?
approved, and it's for sale. It's by it's a Dexcom machine. It's different than the one that's for prescription, by prescription, but it's also a lot cheaper.
Well, that's exciting news to share with our
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah,
So now
absolutely.
there's no real reason not to monitor your own health.
Absolutely.
So,
It's right there at any pharmacy.
very cool. So, is there any signs that you have this situation forming in your eyes?
Unfortunately, there really are not. It really, discovering it is really purely a question of routine eye exams. And now this is a condition that really almost never occurs in people under 50. It's exceedingly rare. And so that's why it's critical, regardless of your need for glasses or not, to have routine eye exams after the age of 50.
And we say that eye exam, I remember in last episode, we talked about, the eye exam, not by a person that provides glasses, but more the eye doctor itself. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, but the critical thing is it needs to be a dilated exam, which means they need to put in drops and enlarge the pupil so that they can see what's going on in the back of the eye. It's not as simple as just, an eyeglass check, because on a routine eyeglass check, it may not be noticed.
Because they don't dilate your eyes.
Necessarily.
That's just more look at the eye chart and maybe check for pressure, and then these are the frames you should look at, right?
Yep, exactly. But a lot of the places and a lot of the places where you can get examined for glasses, usually they will ask. If they don't ask, you can ask, but they often are able to and, can perform a dilated exam if you're willing to, most of them, they will ask. I mean, most of the time it's not a question of you having to ask them for it. They'll ask, but at the time, for a lot of people, it's often a little bit of a hassle. They don't want to be dilated. They, feel like, let me just get some new glasses and be on my way. That's fine. But after the age of 50, at least once a year, you should have a dilated exam.
That sounds very, very good information. One of the things when we jumped into our podcast today, I was excited about sharing the information, and I totally forgot, and I apologize there, Doctor, is you're with the Florida Retina group, and
correct.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your practice and about you, your education, and, I believe you spent some time with Bascom Palmer, and share that with us if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. I work with Retina Group of Florida. We have offices scatter across the east coast of Florida, from Hollywood all the way up to Port St. Lucie. There are 13 of us in the group right now, and we only treat diseases of the retina, diseases of the back of the eye. I did my training in ophthalmology at Manhattan Eye, Ear, and Throat, and then trained at Bascom Palmer in retinal diseases. And from there, I joined Retina Group of Florida.
Great. And you, full disclosure, you've been my doctor for almost 20 years, and yes. I really appreciate everything you've done for me, keeping me on track. So,
my pleasure.
Nothing but recommendations for the doc and his practice there. Well,
thank you.
It's time for a quick little check-in with the studio. So you have Dr. Anagnoste, and my name is Ben, and we're with InSight to the Eye, coming to you from the Studios of Wisdom for the Blind in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be right back. Stick with us. Thank you.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's4tb.org, and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind. Are you a big geek? Do you enjoy learning about new technology? Then join us on the fourth Thursday of every month for the Wisdom Geek Club at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, hit up w4tb.org and click on the Geek Club button on the main page. And don't forget to share the wisdom with a friend. You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking with us. I've been here with InSight today with our co-host, Dr. Anagnoste from the Florida Retina Group. Doc, thanks for sticking with us also. And before we get back into our discussion, I want to remind everybody that be on the lookout for different events that Wisdom for the Blind holds. In May 25, we got 2 fishing trips, one on Clearwater and one out of Fort Lauderdale. We have our yearly forum in October. We just finished a drag race at the Florida Gator Nationals, and we got a bunch more stuff rolling down the pike. So check in with the newsletter and see what you're missing, and please join us. So now back to our show here, Insight to the Eye, from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale. So, Doc, we talked about the why and the how. So what are our options, the O and who?
The treatment options really depend on how severe and how significant the occlusion is, and very importantly, where in the retina it is. If it's off peripherally, meaning off to the side part of the retina, and it's relatively small, it's often reasonable to watch. It gives us a signal that this has happened, and maybe that is a sign that the blood pressure needs to be treated more aggressively, but sometimes it can just be watched. If it's more extensive, where it puts the patient at risk of bleeding or high pressure in the eye or the development of new blood vessels, then that usually needs to be treated. And basically the treatment options depend on the location and severity, but they include laser to treat the parts of the retina that are not getting enough blood, and therefore stop them from sending out the growth factors that cause all of the troubles associated with the vein occlusion, like the swelling or abnormal blood vessel growth, or medications which are injected into the eye that accomplish the same thing. Sometimes, even if the vein occlusion does not affect a large part of the eye, if it happens to affect the very center part of the retina, that is obviously very visually important, and that can require treatment. Again, sometimes with laser, but more often with medications that are injected into the eye.
Do you see, in the last 20 years, maybe since you've been seeing me, has the treatment plans, it used to be a lot of laser now, it used to be lasers and steroids, but we're getting some stronger medicine. Do you see that?
Absolutely. And, there was a huge revolution in the management of this disease, as well as diabetic retinopathy and macular degeneration, when these medications were first developed. But that's probably about 15 years ago. Since then, newer and newer generations of these medicines have been developed, and they work more powerfully, are more effective at getting rid of the swelling and improving vision, and often last longer. That is, need to be re-injected again less frequently than the older medications. So this is changing all the time, and thankfully our management options are increasing. There are more of them, and they are better all the time.
That's great. In different eye diseases, you see things called floaters.
Yes.
With the vein issue, do you see floaters or not?
Well, in the later stages, if abnormal blood vessels develop, they can break and bleed, and that blood is often seen as a shower of new floaters. So, there are many things that can cause floaters. Some of them are relatively benign, but anytime there's a sudden increase in floaters, the question of why did that happen? Why are there more floaters has to be answered, because some of the reasons for new floaters can include bleeding into the eye, either from this or diabetes or other causes that really need to be treated before they get any worse.
So for our audience, can you explain what a floater is?
So, a floater, different people see different things as floaters, and they're broadly lumped into the category of floaters. It's basically any obstruction in your vision that sort of moves around with the eye movement. That is to say, it's not always in exactly the same spot, and often it kind of jiggles around. And they can be very small and dark. They can be translucent. A lot of times they're sort of bigger and more amorphous, kind of like a haze or a jelly that moves in, and wiggles sort of in the vision. If it's a lot of people report a kind of a haze in the vision that goes away if they blink a few times. That's a little bit different. These floaters are usually persistent. They're there all the time, but they move around in the visual field. Sometimes they're a little higher or lower, or they wiggle from left to right, that kind of thing. So
if you see a floater, that's a big sign to go see a doctor, is that right?
Yes, any new floater is an indication to be checked. So it's the question of why do you have a new floater needs to be answered.
But do the floaters go away, or once they're there, they don't dry up? They're there for a while?
It depends on what is causing it, but in the majority of cases, they do eventually get better. But it's usually very slow, a period of many weeks or even months, not quickly.
Very interesting. So what are some of the other options that we can talk about?
The main thing is that if we if a vein occlusion or swelling of the veins is seen, the main option is improving the underlying condition that's causing it, which, like I said, is often high blood pressure, but that can go along with other things, including, narrowing of the arteries, diabetes, blood conditions. So, among the options, if it's not causing a big problem in the eye, it can in many ways be sort of a signal that it's time to change the medical regimen or get in touch with the primary medical doctor and, get the overall body health tuned up.
So time for a good checkup.
Yes, exactly.
This eye disease is not something, if you're out there playing tennis and a tennis ball hits you in the eye, that's not going to occur this.
No, this is not related at all to trauma. It is interesting, people often associated with all kinds of things because, typically in the overwhelming majority of people, it occurs in one eye. If that's not your dominant eye, it is entirely possible to not really notice it until you cover the other eye. And so for a lot of people, they'll be quite convinced that everything was fine until I covered the other eye and then realized. So no, it's not caused by trauma, but some, interesting incidental things can make people aware of it because with both eyes open, it may or may not be all that obvious.
So if you got hit in the eye with a ball and you keep that eye closed, then you might see it more present in the other eye.
Yeah, in the other eye, exactly.
Right. That's very, very good news. Well, one of the things that I notice, and it's the same thing that you're talking about, if I keep both my eyes open, they both look bad. But if I close my left eye, I can really see how bad my right eye is.
Right.
So I always, every once in a while I check my eyes by just covering one of them just to see if I see a difference.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very easy not to notice something if it occurs in the non-dominant eye, or if it occurs slowly, because your body is pretty good at adapting to it and using the vision from both eyes together in a sort of seamless way, so that as we're walking around, looking around, we know if we grabbed something with the right hand or the left hand. But we don't really know, did I see it with my right eye or my left eye? You just saw it. And your brain is very good at taking the information from both eyes and sort of seamlessly melding it, which does mean if one eye is not as good, well, with both eyes open, it makes it harder to notice that.
I understand that. And that's some good news. That still doesn't mean you can let me drive soon, right?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, just checking. I'm waiting for that day to come, but I don't think it will. So, all right,
we'll see.
We'll see. That's what parents say all the time. We'll see.
That is true.
Yeah. So my doctor here he's my eye parent. He's yeah, we'll see, but in the back of his head, he's like, no chance, Ben. So we're going to check in with the studio for another quick update. You're listening to Dr. Anagnoste and myself, Ben, with Insight to the Eye from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be right back. Stick with us.
Thank you, Ben. And to our listeners, thank you for dropping in today to listen to Insight to the Eye with our hosts, Benjamin Keeley and Dr. Scott Anagnoste. The U.S. automotive industry is intricately connected to the global supply chain, with a significant portion of parts being imported from other countries. On average, around 30 to 40% of the components in vehicles assembled in the U.S. are sourced internationally. This includes critical parts such as electronic components, engines, transmission systems, and specialized materials. Countries like Mexico, Canada, China, and Japan are some of the largest suppliers to U.S. car manufacturers. The imposition of tariffs on these imported parts, especially from China, has sparked concerns about increased production costs. Tariffs, designed to protect domestic industries, make foreign components more expensive, thereby raising the cost of manufacturing in the U.S. for carmakers. This could lead to higher prices for consumers as automakers pass on the increased costs of components. Additionally, manufacturers may face supply chain disruptions as they try to manage the cost of imported goods, potentially leading to delays or shortages of certain parts. In response, automakers might explore strategies to offset these additional costs, including localizing production or finding alternative suppliers that are not subject to tariffs. However, such adjustments may take time and could be costly. In our next order of business, Celebrity Cruises has announced plans to expand its offerings in 2027 with the launch of River Vacations, marking an exciting new chapter for the brand. These river cruises aim to combine the luxury that Celebrity is known for with a serene and immersive experience of river travel. The new journeys will offer travelers the opportunity to explore scenic river destinations in style, with high-end amenities, top-tier service, and customized itineraries that emphasize both relaxation and cultural enrichment. This move aligns with Celebrity's broader strategy to diversify its portfolio, offering a wide range of vacation experiences to its loyal customers. The upcoming river cruises will be designed to appeal to both seasoned cruise enthusiasts and newcomers to the cruise industry. With Celebrity's dedication to enhancing guest experiences, the river cruises will offer exclusive itineraries, with an emphasis on exploring some of the world's most famous and beautiful rivers. These luxury river cruises will feature premium dining, elegant suites, and curated excursions to explore the cultural and natural beauty along each river. The addition of River Vacations also represents a response to the increasing popularity of river cruising worldwide. As travelers seek more intimate and personalized travel experiences, river cruises have become an appealing alternative to traditional ocean cruises. Celebrity's new offerings aim to provide a more relaxed and slower-paced way to explore unique and picturesque regions while enjoying the high standards of service and luxury that Celebrity Cruises is known for. The program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers through the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs provides essential support to family members who assist veterans with significant disabilities. This program was designed to ease the burden on those caring for veterans who need assistance with basic daily activities like bathing, dressing, and feeding due to their health conditions. It offers various types of help, such as financial support, healthcare benefits, education, training, and respite care, enabling caregivers to better manage the demands of their role. Caregivers who are eligible can receive a stipend, health benefits under the Civilian Health and Medical Program, and other critical support. The program specifically targets primary caregivers, such as spouses, children, or parents of veterans, and helps them handle the physical, emotional, and financial stress that comes with caregiving. These caregivers also gain access to resources like mental health services and help navigating the complex healthcare system. To be eligible for the PCAFC, veterans must have a service-connected disability rating of at least 70%, and their needs must be long-term, requiring consistent daily assistance. Additionally, they must be enrolled in the VA healthcare system. The program also helps family caregivers by providing them with extensive training on how to care for veterans with specific medical needs, enhancing their ability to provide competent and compassionate care. This has been Ellie from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios. Thank you for tuning in. Now back to you, Ben and Dr. Anagnoste.
I was a wide-eyed kid with time to spare for listening. He was a soldier in a war with a heart that kept on giving. I used to take him a cheer wine and a slice of mama's pie, sit down beside his rocking chair and he'd tell me about life. His second tour overseas got the better of his eyes. What it took from his vision, he more than gained insight. Probably asking things you shouldn't, but he never seemed to care. There was a world of wisdom painted in the memories he'd shared. Turning out the lights doesn't have to leave you in the dark. Sometimes you see with your ears and you hear with your heart. You wanna find the calm waters, you gotta navigate the seas. Love ain't just a word you say, freedom don't come free. Just a few things that a blind man helped me see. In all the time that I knew him, I never knew him to complain. He'd rather carry on about trucks, ships, trains, and jet airplanes. We laughed until we cried and talked until we prayed. When the storms of life roll in, I think back to those days. Turning out the lights doesn't have to leave you in the dark. Sometimes you see with your ears and you hear with your heart. You wanna find the calm waters, you gotta navigate the seas. Love ain't just a word you say, and freedom don't come free. Just a few things that a blind man helped me see. Oh, he helped me see. Turn out the lights doesn't have to leave you in the dark. Sometimes you see with your ears and you hear with your heart. You wanna find the calm waters, you gotta navigate the seas. Love ain't just a word you say, and freedom don't come free. Just a few things that a blind man helped me see. Help me see.
Do you enjoy a good read? Or do you enjoy sharing new books with friends? Then join us on the second Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Wisdom Books, a virtual book club just for the blind or visually impaired. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, go to w4tb.org and click the link Wisdom Books for more information. And please don't forget to share the wisdom. You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
And thanks for sticking with us, guys. This is Ben, and I'm with Dr. Anagnoste from the Florida Retina Group. And we're here at the Wisdom Studios with our show, Insight to the Eye. And today we're just talking about yet another eye disease. So, Doctor, we've talked pretty much about the who, how, why, and our options to treat it. In that different areas, did we forget anything or something you'd like to share with us?
The one thing I would share is that often people who have a vein occlusion are told, not so much by the retina specialist, but it's described to them as a stroke in the eye. And the reason that's used is it is a blockage of a blood vessel, but the blockage of a vein is very, very different than the blockage of an artery. And vein occlusions are not related to brain strokes. So a blockage of a vein in the eye is not really a risk factor for a stroke. And unfortunately, if you refer to it as a stroke in the eye, that's not inaccurate, but it typically scares patients that, oh my gosh, I'm at risk for a brain stroke. And that's not true. The two are not related. And that's important. It doesn't mean you don't need to have it treated and examined, but a vein occlusion is not particularly correlated with a stroke in the brain.
So in a treatment plan, and we talk about the injections and all different things, if we free up that blood vessel and get it flowing properly, does that mean that the disease goes away, or is it something that needs to be continuously monitored?
It does need to be continuously monitored because the occurrence of a vein occlusion it tells us that the veins in the back of the eye, even the ones that are not occluded, that are okay, are at risk of are narrowed, are at risk of getting occluded. And so it is something that requires continuous monitoring.
So if you see your specialist and it gets taken care of, it's not safe for you to just stop getting checkups.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. And then the next question, Doctor. When you have a sign of a stroke or a heart attack, they always talk to you about baby aspirin. Is baby aspirin going to do anything for you with this inclusion?
Yeah, we usually do start our patients on baby aspirin. It does not resolve the problem. The purpose of the baby aspirin for the eye in this case is if one blood vessel got blocked, that, like I said, means that you're at risk of it happening other places in the same eye or even in the other eye. And so we do start our patients on baby aspirin to reduce the risk of developing another blood clot that would block a blood vessel.
So is it safe to say if you see these symptoms and don't have a chance to get to the doctor today, but you can go see him by the end of the week, to go ahead and just start taking some baby aspirins?
No, I would recommend it. I would recommend that we take a look first.
A look before you start the baby aspirin.
Yeah, the baby aspirins are thought to be very helpful if you're having any symptoms of a heart attack. And they really want you to get that baby aspirin on board as soon as possible. In the case of a vein occlusion, there's not really any evidence to show that it's going to affect the course of the vein occlusion. And we want to make sure that the symptoms are all so similar for various different eye diseases: blurriness, floaters, distortion. That can be anything. So until we look at it, we don't know there's no way to know based on the symptoms whether it's a vein occlusion or something else. And some of those something else's might actually be harmed by a baby aspirin. So I would say, if you notice any sort of sudden vision change, no, don't. I mean, it's not. Don't jump in and take a baby aspirin. Get it checked out first.
All right, good advice there. So, in the other topics we've had in our other episodes, any new headway on any new studies or anything that you'd like to share?
No, nothing very recent. I think we spoke about the other topics relatively recently, and while things are always coming up, nothing has really radically changed in the last few months.
All right, that's good. And so for our audience, if you ever have a question for the doctor, remember you can email it at info@w4tb. That's W, the number 4, T as in Tom, B as in boy.org. And our producer, who talks in our ears all the time, but you guys don't get to hear her, Bree, monitors those emails, and she'll share those on the podcast and let the doctor or myself answer those. So please don't hesitate to send us an email. And so in wrapping up, Doctor, what's our next show going to be about?
I think the next show is going to be about dry macular degeneration. We already spoke about wet macular degeneration. The precursor to that in many ways is dry macular degeneration, although that can lead to not just lead to wet macular degeneration, but is a disease in and of itself that can require treatment. So that's our next topic.
Well, look forward to that. And tell us a little bit more about your practice and how they can get a hold of you, your website, and all that good stuff.
Sure. We are Retina Group of Florida, and the website is www.retinagroupflorida.com. So we just dropped the of out in there, so it's just Retina Group Florida, RETINA. And we've got offices. Actually, there's a West Coast division and an East Coast division, so we've got offices all through South Florida, including through the Orlando area. And all of those can be found on our website.
Very good. Thank you very much. And personal note, they're great practice. I've been with them for a long time, and they keep me healthy with my eyes. I need to work on my diet, I'm sure, but everything else works good. So we're a lot of learning, and they're great staff over there. So I hope you tell your staff they're doing a great job for me, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So remember that Wisdom for the Blind has all kinds of other podcasts. We do 18 shows a month and webinars. So look for us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, all of those. We just launched our new TV station and radio station, so look for those. And I'd like to thank the doctor for joining us again, and Bree, our producer, she's doing a great job, and the whole staff and volunteers over for Wisdom for the Blind. Go to the website, check out all the events. We got a great cruise coming up in October, and we have a great group of volunteers. I have a great board that I report to, and everybody is just doing a fabulous job back at the office there, and we're here to serve and share the knowledge. So please look for us all over the place, and remember one thing, tell a friend. Doc, anything you want to say before we go?
No, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, once again, this is Ben and Dr. Anagnoste, and we're Insight to the Eye at the studios of Wisdom for the Blind in sunny Fort Lauderdale today. And we look forward to seeing you back. And drop us an email, share it with a friend, and like us on the web. And we appreciate it. Once again, this has been Be Friendly to everybody. Share it. All this wisdom, and thanks for watching.
Looking for a fitness app that is accessible for the blind? Well, look no further. Revision Fitness is just what the trainer ordered. This audio and text-based fitness program has a wide selection of fitness options, including cardio, strength, yoga, balance, flexibility, and even progressive relaxation sessions. Download Revision Fitness on the App Store or Google Play, or visit revisionfitnessapp.com and get a free 14-day trial for new users. Find your fit with Revision Fitness. And as always,
Revision Fitness.
let's change the way we look at it.
Ice cream. All the ice cream in my house, in the world, and most of my stuffed animals.
My video games and, my phone.
What would you give for your freedom? Would you give your eyesight? Would you give ever seeing the sunset again? Would you give the ability to see your children's future? Thousands of brave men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. And the Blinded Veterans Association wants to give them their freedom back, but it needs your help. Go to BVA.org to find out about how BVA's free programs and services, advocacy, education, peer support, scholarships, and more help America's heroes to not just deal with the emotional and physical issues of sudden sight loss or impairment, but actually work to get them back to the independent lives they deserve to live. Go to BVA.org to find out how you can make a difference. They fought for your independence, and by going to BVA.org, you can find out how to help these veterans regain theirs. Go to BVA.org today.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
You've been listening to Insight to the Eye, produced by Wisdom for the Blind and VNS Productions, a division of VNS International. Everybody should carry superior knowledge about their eyesight and how to recognize what is happening with their eyes. We hope you've enjoyed our show. Make sure you like, rate, and review, and we'll be back soon. Until then, visit our website at w4tb.org, and don't forget to share the wisdom and tell a friend.